Hare Krishna. Devotees can please write initiative name. Ankur Kakar Prabhuji. Zoom user.
Oh, listen to that, will you?
I am talking to you.
Listen to that construction. Get rid of that.
You can play some.
Let's see how I get on. Yes. Is anyone on administration here, or we just start?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept our humble obeisances.
Okay, so we'll start. Om Gyana Timananda Sigana Jana Shalakaya Chukshu Samalitan Tasmai Sri Gurve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravan Vishani Nivisheshishna Mari Pashtat Drishtane Vandayaham Sri Guru Shijita Paragamalang Sri Gurun Vaishnavangsha Sri Rupam Shagarajatam Sahagaraganatam Vedangtam Shajivam Sadvaitam Sabdutam Parijana Shaitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishnu Mantra Guru Ajokta Shikha Guru Ganta Charane Age Karya Bandhan Banchaka Patubishta Buddha Samudri Vidan Patitanam Pavane Vaishnava Namaha Krishna Sadamu Bhagate Dharma Gyana Divisha Kalonasta Dushamesha Purunaka Adano Ditaha Hare Krishna Shupandit Vaishnav gone. Welcome.
Hare Krishna. So welcome His Grace Atul Prabhu with us. And because of Prabhuji's mercy, today we have this Bhakti Vaibhava course, Bhakti Shasi course with us. Very merciful Prabhuji designed this, structured these courses, and many important courses like IDC, which is now sanctioned by Guru Committee Summit, Guru Disciple Committee also. So we thank Prabhuji for designing such courses, leading us into Shastic knowledge wonderfully, showing us a path to walk and enlighten us. So we welcome His Grace Atul Prabhu with us today. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Let's begin. We'll go around the assembly of Vaishnav scholars. We'll go around the assembly and we'll request you to tell us your name, tell us something that valuable learning you got from your study of the third canto. So I guess I'll call on people because it's all in order here. Rasa Raman, third canto. What impressed you? No, Rasa Raman hasn't come yet. Priya Satya, Bama, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Lalla Pranam. One thing that really caught my attention in Canto 3 was how, Sankhya Yoga can actually help you lead towards a pure devotional service and how it takes you back home. And all you need to do is serve the Lord, serve your spiritual master, and everything is okay.
Priya Satyavama, yes, Sankhya Yoga, serve the spiritual master, everything's okay. There's some valuable learning. Rashal, Prabhu, are you Rashal? You're a student?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm not the student, Prabhuji.
Okay.
I'm just part of the organization.
Darshan Pavitra hoye tomar gun. We're purified by your darshan. Thank you for that. And Rukmini Hari Shebini Devi Dashi, third canto.
Prabhuji, I got the little learning that when the senior or learned person suggests something, without arguing and without putting our arguments or without putting our self-opinion, we should mind it and we should accept it. So we will be, the goal of life, go back home, back to Godhead, will not be delayed. So we need to make hurry and we accept the authority and instruction and we will move. So we will be able to achieve the goal.
Rukmini Hari Shebini Mantati, that's about the third canto, is it? The third canto, realizations. Yeah. Third canto. Ah, wonderful. Palav Pradumna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhanutna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
So my realization of the third canto, Prabhuji, is, on an overall basis, not, how devotional life can be very easy as well as very complicated at the same time.
Thank you so much, Palav Pradumna. I guess that's related to the third canto. Yeah, thank you. Wonderful. Let's go for Ananda Brindavaneshwari Madhuri, you're a Zoom user? Yes? Madhuji, Brindavan? Yes. Madhuji. Ananda Brindavan Madhuji, isn't it? Madhuji? It is. Ananda, yes, Madhuji, yes.
Hare Krishna.
It says Zoom user there. Anyway, yeah.
Okay. Ananda Leela. My name is
Ananda Leela. Yeah.
My realization of the third canto is overall different pastimes which took us through. Basically, Bhakti is the devotional service, is the one that attracts the Lord, whether one is a doorkeeper or one becomes a mother of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Any relationship can take us back home, back to Godhead if you perform the devotional service, and that is the gist of the whole. I felt it.
Some valuable learning for you, Ananda Leela Mataji, about the doorkeepers and their eligibility to get the mercy of the Lord. Yeah, very good. Let's Rai Ramananda Dash. You're meeting such transcendental effulgence that we cannot wait any longer to hear from you.
From the Canto 3rd and chapter 22, there is a very much description of the spiritual master. There are various glorification of the spiritual master. So one should, I learned from that chapter that I should faithfully execute the order of a spiritual master. And also in further chapter, the Sankhya is also given the ultimate goal of that Sankhya is the devotional service that I learned. Thank you.
That's good. Rai Ramanand Prabhu, yes, good. Lakshmi, what happened? We moved. Let's go for Jagat Mata Shachi Devi Dashi.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranams. My learning is from third canto is that we need so many qualification to perform Shuddha Bhakti. But Prabhupada says by chanting holy name, we can develop all the qualifications.
By chanting the holy name, we can develop all the qualities. Jagat Mata Sachi Mataji. Yeah, that's very, very, that's the conclusion. And Amal Charan Das, tell us about your learning from third canto.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So my learning is like there's a statement in third canto. If we act in Krishna consciousness under the direction of the Lord and is representative, then everything is sanctified.
Very good. Yeah, very good. Antaryami Balaram Dash.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Prabhuji, this is regarding the one of my favorite shlokas in the Bhagavatam, 3:25-21, which is Titikshva Karunika. So the idea and the learning is that we should try to develop these qualities and be a sadhu, be a devotee of the Lord.
Yeah, super, super. Titikshva Karunika. What a verse, what a gem.
Hare Krishna.
Kamalakshi Gopi Devi Dashi.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Pranam Prabhuji. The learning from third canto, I could remember that the change of consciousness of Mata Dehuti. First, initially, she wanted to know about the liberation, but after association of Lord Kapila, she wanted to know how to perform devotional services and wanted to know Supreme Personality of Godhead. The change of consciousness, which is very inspiring for me.
Kamalakshi Gopi, you're very inspired about that evolution of consciousness of Devahuti as seen in her questions. That's wonderful. Gita Krishna Das. No, sorry, let's go for Daruk Krishna Das.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. So Prabhuji, I've seen in the third canto that different natures of material and how it can entangle us. And then Lord very beautifully explained that actual devotional services. So all these material natures, Panjas I have already experienced in many births there. So now I'm finally on the path of devotional services. So I want to execute the devotional services as Devahuti was finally come on the conclusion to execute the devotional services.
Yeah, very good, very good. Rashika Priya Sham Dash.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. One thing I would like to highlight is that it was very inspiring to see how Kardam Muni and later also Devahuti, in the midst of all opulences, their goal of devotional service was not deviated. They remained fixed on that goal, and nothing could deter them from this. So that is very important to learn, that if we are in the midst of this material elements, even in the midst of that, we can execute the process of devotional service if we are fixed in our goal.
Rasika Priya Sham, yes, Kardama Muni and Devahuti, the Adarsha Grihastas cruising around in the aerial mansion. I didn't get affected by the aerial mansion. Rukmini Priya?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Koti Koti Pranam. When Kardamuni left, then Devahuti at that time request and take shelter of Kapila Dev, and she requests Kapil Dev to explain her the path of devotional service, which can help her to cultivate detachment from the activities of this material world. And Lord Kapila explains that there are so many varieties of just like ignorance, passion, and goodness, 3 varieties of mood. And if she took the path of devotional service, she can please his Lord. And by the worship of deity in the temple, Lord Kapil describes that she can attain the highest goal of her life. Thank you, Prabhuji.
That's very detailed. That's very detailed, Rukmini Priya. Yes, you're Rukmini Priya? That's Rukmini Priya, yeah. And Dina Pavana Gaur Priya Devi Dashi. Dina Pavana Gaur Priya Devi Dashi. We caught you out. You went at the computer, taking a little break, and that's when we called upon you. Oh. What about Rasa Raman Krishna Das?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. I'm Rasraman Krishna Das from ISKCON Rohini. And as you are asking about the learning of the third canto, so what I liked the most, the context of Kardam Muni and Devahuti, how they were married and how Kardam Muni spent long years with Devahuti, and how Kardam Muni detached himself ultimately from the household life. And then further entry of the Kapil Muni and how he delved into the details of Sankhya Yoga, which is just equivalent to Bhakti Yoga. So this all I liked very much. And I have learned a lot from these all contexts.
Rasa Raman Prabhu, yes, some valuable learning for you from the third canto.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Radha Keshav Dash. Yeah, I caught you out.
Yes,
yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you can hear you.
Basically, my realization is that the path of Bhakti Yoga and association of devotees, that is the main thing which one should aspire for.
Radha Keshav, the path of Bhakti Yoga and association of the devotees. So very important. Some valuable learning for you from the third canto.
Yeah.
Dina Pavana Gauda Priya, second chance. Yes.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. My learning is that if someone is getting association of devotee, he can get he can get bhakti. We can't get bhakti easily, but by the association of a devotee, we can get it.
By the association of the devotee, we can get bhakti easily.
Pure devotee.
Yeah. Good. Some valuable learning, from the team from the third canto. Let's share the screen. How's that look? Can is the screen visible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Now we're looking at 7 chapters. We're looking at 7 chapters of the 4th canto. There's an overview. I'm using diagrams from Gauranga Darshan Prabhu's Bhagavat Shubhodhini collection for this purpose on occasion. Now here's a bit of an overview of the whole section. So pretty much we've got two things we're going to be looking at. The first chapter is more of an intro to the whole section, describing the three daughters of Manu. We're carrying on from the third canto. We're looking at creation, Sristi Tattva, one of the 10 topics of the Bhagavatam. It's already come up in the second canto on a couple of occasions. That's more the elements of creation, Mahatattva, Pradhana, etc. All of these things, the universal egg, these things have been described. Second canto, third canto, and also in third canto, we see the avatars. They're described, listed, and the Lord's beginning with Hiranyaksha, the first incarnation, and similarly, the Manu is described, and now we're looking at the progenation, I guess is the word, progenation of humanity, beginning from Manu, Satarupa, the first, mankind, Manu, it's like Satarupa, and they had their sons and daughters. And then we're going to look now, and in this canto, we're going to look at the genealogical arrangements. Daughters of Manu were given to the various sages: Akuti, Devahuti, Prashuti, the Uti sisters, as Hanuman Prashak Maharaj refers to the Uti sisters, Devahuti, Prashuti, and Akuti, the Uti sisters, the three Uti sisters, daughters of Manu, given to the various sages, where we heard in detail in the third canto how Devahuti and Kardama Muni performed their household pastimes and also gave birth to Kapila Muni, the incarnation of Godhead. So that's a bit of and then when we start talking about Daksha, Prashuti and Daksha, Prashuti is another daughter of Manu, and she's married to Daksha. And so now in the second chapter, we begin to hear how Daksha insulted Lord Shiva whilst he was performing the sacrificial ceremony. Of course, this is in the previous ages, and the yajna system was the method of appeasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Many descriptions of yajna described in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is one of them, and the specific feature of this particular yajna performed by Prajapati Daksha is that he insulted Lord Shiva, and the subsequent 6 chapters are describing the events of the yajna wherein Lord Shiva was insulted, and the ramifications, the cursing and the counter-cursing that went on after that. And then similarly, the next sacrifice performed by Daksha, and how Sati was not invited because of her relationship with Shiva, and subsequently how she was insulted and gave up her body. And so all of these it's a very interesting section of Srimad Bhagavatam, where many lessons can be learned for our practical application, and also the importance of Vaishnava Sangha. And as we'll be hearing today, the importance of respecting Vaishnavas, the greatness of Mahadev, the Vaishnavanam Yuta Shambhu, Lord Shiva, and his greatness, his qualities are all described in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, his residence also described. So we've got 4 lessons. We sent this out to you, so find reading sequence for today's session. Oh no, we're not doing that. We're just, there's so many things you'll be reading, so we'll just call on anyone to read. So let's look now. Today we're looking at chapter 1 and the first 20 verses of chapter 2. Let's read some comments from Srila Prabhupada. Someone read, please.
Lakshmi Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes. First of all, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto our spiritual master, Om Vishnupada Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, by whose order I am engaged in this Herculean task of writing commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam as the Bhakti Vedanta purpose. By his grace, we have finished 3 cantos already, and we are just trying to begin the 4th canto.
Jai Prabhupada ki jai. That's an interesting word Prabhupada uses there, Herculean. That's Greek, a Greek god. So Prabhupada's using the Greek metaphors from Greek mythology. Herculean. Of course, Prabhupada's English is first class. He was trained by Scottish church scholars. He studied the English literature. He studied the English poets. So using such attractive words. Herculean task. Read on.
By his divine grace, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Chaitanya, who began this Krishna consciousness movement of Bhagavad Dharma 500 years ago. And through his grace, let us offer our obeisances to the 6 Goswamis, and then let us offer our obeisances to Radha and Krishna, the spiritual couple who enjoy eternally in Vrindavan with their cowherd boys and damsels in Brijbhumi. Let us also offer our respectful obeisances to all the devotees and eternal servitors of Supreme Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.1.1 purport.
Now, what's interesting, I'm just going to make a comment on this because I find it pretty interesting here that what Prabhupada has said here. And he says here, by whose order I am engaged in this Herculean task. By whose order I am engaged in this Herculean task of writing commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. That's very interesting that Prabhupada makes that statement. Now, if you actually analyze the interactions between Prabhupada and Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, you can do research and find out to what extent Srimad Bhagavatam was actually mentioned in their discussions. In general, Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is instructing Prabhupada to preach in English and the teachings of Lord Chaitanya Gauravani. And Prabhupada he says that he's been directly engaged in writing a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam by Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So that's very interesting that Prabhupada actually is a first-class disciple. See, he knows the desire of the Guru, even the Guru doesn't have to specifically say that. So Prabhupada ki jai. He considers it the order of his Guru to write the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now here's a bit of a one-paragraph summary of the whole fourth canto. Let's take a look at this. This is a valuable comment from Srila. I mean, everything Prabhupada says is valuable, but this is particularly interesting. In one paragraph, he summarizes the whole fourth canto. Someone like to read, please?
In the first chapter of this fourth canto, there are description of the three daughters of Swambhu Manu and their descendants. The next 6 chapters describe the sacrifice performed by King Daksha and how it was spoiled. Thereafter, the activity of Maharaj Dhruva are described in 5 chapters. Then in 11th chapter, the activity of King Prithu are described. And the next 8 chapters are devoted to the activity of Pracheta.
Now, we may just be thinking that these are just random topics, just like two devotees sitting and talking and random topics. But actually, they're not random. Actually, we're in the middle of the conversation with Maitreya and Vidura. I'm expecting that you're aware of that. The third and fourth canto is the conversation of the Maitreya and Vidura. When Vidura was on the pilgrimage, as is described in 14th chapter, Canto 1, Vidura returns and he delivers Dhritarashtra Gandhari. That description is there. So he returns from his pilgrimage during which he heard all of this. Third and fourth cantos, he heard all of this from Maitreya Muni. And as we're following a sequential line of thought here, actually, what we're looking at the moment is that, as we mentioned, the population of the universe is being described, how humanity is populated throughout the universe, beginning with the father of mankind, Swayambhuva Manu, and Satarupa. And Swayambhuva Manu, he's one of the Brahma's Manasaputras, so that's where he came from. So we're looking at the whole thing here, that Brahma, he's self-created being. It appears, from the lotus of the Lord's navel. And then from him, Manasaputras, amongst whom is Swayambhuva Manu, and then Satarupa, and then they produce 3 sons, 3 daughters. So 2 sons and 3 daughters. So these 5 family, the 5 children of Satarupa and Swayambhuva Manu, they're described as the 3rd and 4th cantos, at least from chapter 20 onwards of 3rd canto. You got Devahuti and Kardama Muni. That's chapters 21 to chapter 23 of 3rd canto. And now you've got Akuti and Ruchi. As in the first few verses of the 1st chapter. And then verses from halfway through the first chapter, we start talking about Prashuti and Daksha, and then that description goes for the first 7 chapters of 4th canto. And then we go to Uttanapad and Suruchi and Suniti, and from which Dhruva is born. So Dhruva is the grandson of Manu, right? Yeah. And, the pastimes of Dhruva, that's chapter 6 to the end of the 4th canto. Oh, and also, I'll show you that also from Uttanapad, also you have Dhruva, and then you have all of Dhruva's ascendants, which I'll show you in the next slide. And then Priyavrata is the beginning of the 5th chapter, 5th canto, another son of Swayambhava Manu and Satarupa. Now, from Uttanapad, Suruchi and Suniti, and then Dhruva, and then you have all of this. If you can see that, I mean, I could zoom in a little bit, I think. No, I can't. So from Uttanapad goes all the way down here, Chakshusha Manu, all the way down here. This, you got from Dhruva, and then you got Anga, and then you got Vaina, and then you got Prithu Maharaj, and then you got Bahisha, there's Prachinabahi Maharaj down here, Prachinabahi Maharaj, and then from him the Prachetas. So this fourth canto is describing pretty much the descendants of, first of all, it's Akuti and Prashuti. And Akuti and Ruchi, Prashuti and Daksha, and then Uttanapad, Suruti and Sunichi. Their offspring basically is the half of the 3rd canto and not most of the 4th canto. Any questions on that?
Can you give the previous slide?
What's the question?
That you please display the previous page.
Yeah,
this one. Yes, thank you. In fact, I wanted to note it down.
Yep. Anything else on the overview here, the context, what we're looking at here? At the end of the 3rd canto, the beginning of the 4th canto, what's going on? The overall picture. Okay, it's the daughter, it's the 3 daughters of Satarupa and Swayambhava Manu and their various offspring are described. Now, the first chapter here's a bit of an overview of the first chapter. And the various genealogical lines are described, of respectively Akuti and Devahuti and Prashuti. And specifically within that instruction, we'll see, within this description, we'll see the activities of Atri Muni mentioned, and we'll describe that in a little more detail. Prabhupada makes a general comment here about general comment. First of all, about Putrika Dharma. Can someone explain to us what's Putrika Dharma? Putrika Dharma is mentioned in text number 2. Can someone explain what that is?
Do you want us to read that?
I just want to know what is Putrika Dharma. Putrika Dharma.
Prabhuji, it is about the rituals to get a son.
Almost. And I think we raise hands. Don't we raise hands? We hear a question, we raise hands. Don't we do that? Isn't that standard? Yeah. So if you'd like to respond, you can raise your hand. Putrika Dharma. It's not exactly rituals to get a son. It's a specific describing a specific incident here in this case. In this case, it was that Manu, he gave his daughter to Prajapati Ruchi. The daughter was Akuti, and he gave her to Prajapati Ruchi in order to get a son, and then he would take that son. That's called Putrika Dharma, because that son would be Yagya, who is an incarnation of the personality of Godhead. So there you go. So, yeah, and this is confirmed by Jiva Goswami. Prabhupada comments in the purport. He's given this explanation. So let's read some general comments Prabhupada makes about Stri Dharma. Someone like to read? Text 6.
A wife should always remain satisfied with her husband, and a husband should always remain satisfied with his wife. Generally, according to the Vedic civilization, the wife is trained to be satisfied in all conditions, and the husband, according to Vedic instruction, is required to please the wife with sufficient food, ornaments, and clothing. Then, if they are satisfied with their mutual dealings, good children are born.
The thing is, nowadays, we give the same type of education to boys and girls. We think that's advanced in modern times. And if we don't, then there's so much agitation. People will say that the ladies are not treated fairly because they're not given the same education as the men. But actually, they're meant to be trained in different ways according to Vedic civilization. They're trained in different ways. The wife is trained to be satisfied. There's equality. Trained to be satisfied in all conditions, and the husband is trained also. He should provide ornaments, clothing, and sufficient food and other types of requirements for the household affairs in abundance, and then they'll be happy in household life. Good children are born. Prabhupada continues. Please read.
In this way, the entire world can become peaceful, but unfortunately, in this age of Kali, there are no ideal husbands and wives. Therefore, unwanted children are produced, and there is no peace and prosperity in the present-day world.
Yeah, so this is the situation. No ideal husbands and no ideal wives. So don't expect too much. As we heard from your realizations of the third canto, associate with Vaishnavas, chant Hare Krishna. That's it. Don't expect too much. Because ladies don't expect too much because there's no ideal husbands in the Kali Yuga. Men don't expect too much because there's no ideal wives. So if you're not happy with that, just you can remain in renounced life. And if not possible, enter household life, but don't expect too much. And make it Krishna conscious as best you can. Okay, now let's take a look. Let's read a few verses here. Let's get in tune here with the events regarding Apshamuni. Someone like to read?
Lakshmi Mesh Mataji.
Suya, the wife of Atri Muni, gave birth to 3 very famous sons, Soma, Dattatreya, and Durvasa, who were partial representations of Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, and Lord Brahma. Soma was a partial representation of Lord Brahma, Dattatreya was a partial representation of Lord Vishnu, and Durvasa was a partial representation of Lord Shiva.
Yeah, now in text 15, actually, Prabhupada, he makes a comment here. He made an interesting comment. He mentions about, this is verse 15. The purport, in the purport, Prabhupada talks about gradations of Brahman. Gradations of Brahman. That's quite interesting. Can anyone remember what Prabhupada says about gradations of Brahman? Prabhupada says there are gradations of Brahman. He says that Dattatreya was directly part and parcel of Vishnu, whereas Durvasa and Soma were parts and parcels of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Let's read on. Text 16.
After hearing this, Vidura inquired from Maitreya, "My dear master, how is that the three deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, who are the creator, maintainer, and destroyer of the whole creation, became the offspring of the wife of Atri Muni?"
Read on.
Maitreya said, "When Lord Brahma ordered Atri Muni to create generations after marrying Anusuya, Atri Muni and his wife went to perform severe austerities in the valley of the mountain known as Riksha." Srimad Bhagavatam 4.1.15 to 17.
Read on.
There are the great sage concentrated his mind by the yogic breathing exercises, and thereby controlling all attachment. He remained standing on one leg only, eating nothing but air, and stood there on one leg for 100 years.
Oops.
He was thinking, "May the Lord of the universe, of whom I have taken shelter, kindly be pleased to offer me a son exactly like him." While Atri Muni was engaged in these severe austerities, a blazing fire came out of his head by virtue of his breathing exercise, and that fire was seen by the three principal deities of the three worlds. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.1.19 to 21.
Read on.
The sage was standing on one leg, but as soon as he saw that the three deities had appeared before him, he was so pleased to see them all together that despite great difficulty, he approached them on one leg. Thereafter, he began to offer prayers to the three deities, who were seated on different carriers, a bull, a swan, and Garur, and who held in their hands a grass and a discus. The sage offered them his respects by falling down like a stick. "I called for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, desiring a son like him, and I thought of him only. But although he is far beyond the mental speculation of men, all three of you have come here. Kindly let me know how you have come, for I am greatly bewildered about this." Srimad Bhagavatam 4.1.22 to 28.
Now, Prabhupada makes a comment. Now, here's a picture. There's a picture. So the three deities appeared before Atri Muni, and he was rather confused. So, how is it that these three deities? Who can explain? How is it that these three deities all appeared before the great sage, Atri Muni? Raise hands if you'd like to explain. Yes, Rukmini Priya, Devi Dasi.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, just because Anusuya was surrendered to her husband, that is why three deities present before her. And
because why? I didn't quite catch that, what you said. You said Anusuya was what?
She was totally surrendered to her husband.
That's mentioned somewhere. For that reason, it is mentioned somewhere in what you read. For that reason, three deities appeared.
Yes, Prabhuji. We already read about this.
Yeah, where's that?
Yes. What to say? Sorry, Prabhuji.
Let's hear from Priya Satyabhama. Why the three deities appeared?
Because Prabhuji, I mean, I did go through the chapter, so I know, when we read forward, the Devata, the deities will say that you were meditating upon the same person, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is why all three of us have appeared in front of you.
Okay. And some comment on this from Jagat Mata Shachi, Devi Dasi. Why three deities?
It seems this Prabhupada had written in a purport that Atri Muni don't have an idea who the Supreme Personality of Godhead is. So he
Yeah.
prayed and
That's pretty much what Prabhupada says. He wasn't exactly sure who was the Supreme Lord, so all three appeared. Someone like to read this? This is purport to text 30.
Vishnu is the Lord of the universe because he is its maintainer. Similarly, Brahma created the different planetary system and the population, so he also may be considered the Lord of the universe. Or Lord Shiva, who is ultimately the destroyer of the universe, also may be considered its Lord. Therefore, since Atri Muni did not specifically mention whom he wanted, all three, Brahma, Vishnu and Lord Shiva, came upon before him.
Okay, so the answer is because he prayed for the Lord, and they're all you can consider all of these persons the Lord of the universe. So it's a lesson here for us, showing the greatness of these personalities, and they all appeared. Now let's hear what they say. I'll take the question from Jagat Mata Mataji. Jagat Mata Mataji, yes, we'll take the question.
I'm not able to understand the thing that why is Atri Muni is a great Muni. He knows the Vedic. Atri Muni is a very great Rishi, great Muni.
Yeah.
He knows the Vedic Shastras, and I'm not able to understand how he is not able to understand who is the Supreme Person.
That's not explained. That's not specifically explained. I mean, it just mentions his situation. He wasn't clear. That's it. I mean, we're very fortunate. Jagat Mata Sachi Devi Dasi. Anytime someone in ISKCON sits down and gives a class, they tell you the whole thing. Krishna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Parampara, Srila Prabhupada. That's it. We make it very clear. But they didn't have not in such a situation where things were that made, they're made clear to us because we're all fools and rascals, and therefore if it's not made clear, we won't understand anything. So we're very fortunate. Prabhupada makes everything so clear in his books, but he didn't know exactly. That's the situation. Let's read a few verses here. This is text 29. Someone like to read the translation?
The three deities told Atri Muni, "Dear Brahma, you are perfect in your determination, and therefore, as you have decided, so it will happen. It will not happen otherwise. We are all the same person upon whom you were meditating, and therefore, we have all come to you.
Yeah, read on.
You will have sons who will represent a partial manifestation of our potency. And because we desire all good fortune for you, those sons will glorify your reputation throughout the world.
Yeah.
Thereafter, from the partial representation of Brahma, the moon god was born of them. From the partial representation of Vishnu, the great mystic Dattatreya was born. And from the partial representation of Shankara, Lord Shiva, Durvasa was born. Now, you may hear from me of the many sons of Angira.
So the topic here is we're describing the genealogical descendants of Manu and Satarupa. So Atri Muni falls into this situation, and his particular incident concerning him is very interesting, that he was desiring the Lord of the universe, and therefore these three persons, Shiva, Brahma and Vishnu, all appeared before him, and these extraordinary characters actually appeared from the womb of his wife, and they're all extraordinary characters, Dattatreya and Durvasa Muni and the moon god. So there's very extraordinary incidents being described here in Srimad Bhagavatam. Why wasn't Atri Muni considered a pure devotee, however? Prabhupada explains, why wasn't Atri Muni considered a pure devotee? Priya Satyabhama.
Maybe because Prabhuji, he was not sure who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Well, maybe, but no, it's not correct. So probably better not to guess and say maybe. It's better if you don't know, probably best not to guess. But it wasn't that reason. Ananda Lila?
Because he wanted a child, but not Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. So his aim was to have a child like a Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Okay, let's read what Prabhupada says. Someone like to read, please.
Atri Muni wanted a son exactly like the Lord, and therefore he is not supposed to have been a pure devotee because he had a desire to be fulfilled, and that desire was material. Although he wanted a son exactly like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this desire was material because he did not want the personality of Godhead himself, but only a child exactly like him.
And read on.
If he had desired the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his child, he would have been completely free of material desires because he would have wanted the supreme absolute truth. But because he wanted a similar child, his desire was material. Thus, Atri Muni cannot be counted among the pure devotees.
Okay, so in this way, Prabhupada is concluding this chapter, explaining how it's describing the various genealogical descriptions of the descendants of Manu and Satyarupa. Please read.
My dear Vidura, the population of the universe was thus increased by the descendants of these sages and the daughters of Kardama. Anyone who hears the descriptions of this dynasty with faith will be relieved from all sinful reactions.
So there we have a bit of an overview of that first chapter. Are there any questions on the first chapter? Jagat Mata Shachi Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, can you explain the difference between son as a god, supreme personality, wanting a son, supreme personality of Godhead as a son, and wanting a son like a god? Can you explain?
Yeah. I mean, you can look at the example of Vasudev Devaki. That's described in Srimad Bhagavatam, that for many lives they were praying and performing austerities in order to have the Supreme Lord as their son. So they were desiring the Supreme Lord as their son, Vasudev and Devaki. They were desiring to have the Supreme Lord as their son. They're performing penances accordingly, and they, you know, Krishna appeared, and in the prison house, Kamsa's prison house, Lord Krishna actually displayed his opulence as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Chaturbhuj Narayan. He displayed that in order to confirm to Devaki that her desire to have the Supreme Person, he is that Supreme Personality of Godhead that she desired, and so he demonstrated, he displayed his opulence even immediately after birth. So that's what it means to desire the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one's son. That's described in cases, and in this case, Atri Muni wasn't doing that. So the description goes on. He was desiring a son like the Supreme Lord, and so he got 3 sons. He was desiring a son like the Supreme Lord, and he got who was that Supreme Lord wasn't clear. So all 3 deities appeared, and they all gave him a son. And that's the story. Anything else on the first chapter? Okay, we're going to look at the first 20 verses now of chapter 2. Yeah, so there's a little bit of that. There's Vidura is a bit astonished.
Here electricity has gone in Mayapur, so probably is, I guess that's why.
We're back. Can you hear me?
Yes,
We're in the village here, Nodia Gram, Mayapur. Current comes and goes, so bear with us. We're on the phone now, so we're on the phone. We're on the SIM card, so shouldn't do that again. Now, why is Vidura astonished in the beginning of the chapter? Why is Vidura astonished? Okay, let's read. He's astonished because this incident between Daksha and Lord Shiva, they're both extremely qualified, exalted characters. So how could such a thing happen? He's astonished. Let's read Prabhupada's comments. Please read.
Vidura inquired, why was Daksha, who was so affectionate towards his daughter, envious of Lord Shiva, who is the best among the gentle? Why he neglect his daughter Sati? Lord Shiva, the spiritual master of the entire world, is free from enmity, is a peaceful personality, and is always satisfied in himself. He is the greatest among the demigods. How is it possible that Daksha could be inimical towards such an auspicious personality?
Okay, so then, there's lessons, we can see by a statement like this, we can see that this is an interesting, it's an extraordinary event that such things could happen. And obviously, such things are happening in order to teach us, to teach us, so there are lessons in terms of behavior. These are the questions, how is it that someone could become inimical to Lord Shiva? Read on.
In the second chapter of the fourth canto, the cause of dissension between Lord Shiva and Daksha, which was due to a great sacrifice arranged by Daksha for the pacification of the entire universe, is explained. Lord Shiva is described here as the best of the gentle because he is not envious of anyone. He is equal to all living entities and all other good qualities are present in his personality. The word Shiva means all auspicious.
Mm-hmm. Read on.
No one can be an enemy of Lord Shiva's, for he is so peaceful and renounced that he does not even construct a house for his residence, but lives underneath a tree, always detached from all worldly things. The personality of Lord Shiva symbolizes the best of gentleness.
Read on.
It is also stated Vaishnavan Yatha Sambhu. Sambhu, Lord Shiva, is the greatest of all Vaishnavas. On one hand, he is the worshipable object of the dull demons, and on the other hand, he is the best of all Vaishnavas or devotees, and he has a sampradaya called Rudra Sampradaya. Even if he has an enemy or is sometimes angry, such a personality cannot be object of envy. So Vidur, in astonishment, asked why he was taken as such, especially by Daksha.
Yeah. So a lot of the qualities of Lord Shiva, that's one of the questions actually we recently prepared on this section for the examination, those senior devotees who are taking Bhakti Vaibhava examinations. From this section, from these pastimes, what are some qualities of Lord Shiva that are manifest? And so we're going to see here many chapters now describing qualities, the Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu, the greatest Vaishnava, Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. Here I am in Navadip. So it's why actually I'm quite happy I was considering myself honored to be able to teach on this section. Bimal Prasad Das Brahmachari. He asked me several months ago, a long time ago. I thought you'd all forgotten, actually. I thought you'd forgotten. Nothing came of that. And then a week or so ago, Rukmini Hari Shevani Mataji sends me a message. We're all ready for 4th canto, chapters 1 to 7. I remembered, they didn't forget, it's on. But in Mayapur, Lord Shiva, he does bhajan in Navadip, Mayapur, Lord Shiva. Mayapur, Antura, you go to Simantadip, Simantini Devi, Parvati Devi, Simantini Devi. And Mahadevi says to her, Mayapur Anturbhage, Janabir Tire, Gaudanga Bhaji Bhukami, Rohira Kutire. He's desiring to Anturbhage, deep within unto deep, Mayapur, in Mayapur, Anturbhage, deep within Mayapur, Janabir Tire, on the banks of Maganga, Gaudanga Bhaji Bhukami. And we'll chant the name Gaudanga Bhaji Bhukami, Rohira Kutire, living in a cottage. This is the desire of Lord Shiva, to reside in Mayapur on the banks of Maganga and chant Gaudanga, Gaudanga, Gaudanga. So hearing his glories is very purifying, as described in Srimad Bhagavatam. He's a great Vaishnava, great Gaud Bhakta, Gaudanga Bhakta, Gaud. So we're going to hear a lot of the qualities of Lord Shiva in this section. Let's read a few verses.
The sage Maitra said, in a formal time, the leaders of the universal creation performed a great sacrifice in which all the great sages, philosophers, demigods, and fire gods assembled with their followers. When Daksha, the leader of the Prajapatis, entered the assembly, his personal bodily lustre as brilliant as the effulgence of the sun. The entire assembly was illuminated and all the assembled personalities became insignificant in his presence.
Yeah, he's not an ordinary, he's not an ordinary Daksha, he's not an ordinary person, right? But a bodily effulgence that illuminates the entire assembly. And here we are, and this is Satya Yuga, and great rishis and munis and Prajapatis, they're all present there, and still he's such a prominent personality. No ordinary character. There's such character, such quality, such potency. Read on.
Influenced by his personal bodily lustre, all the fire gods and other participants in that great assembly, with the exceptions of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, gave up.
Yeah. It's pretty much I mean, we hear that in previous ages, the demigods would come to this planet and perform yajna. So this is an example of that. They came here, they're cruising around, they can go the Jana Tapaloka, and they can come Bhuloka, and they come here and do a yajna. And all great personalities were there, and big assembly, and everybody got, except Lord. Read on.
Daksha was adequately welcomed by the president of the great assembly, Lord Brahma. After offering Lord Brahma respect, Daksha, by the order of Brahma, properly took his seat.
Yeah. I mean, we're not hearing here about, it's not like, it doesn't seem like it's the very beginning of the event, because already everybody's assembled there. So things are going on. It's not they're all just sitting there doing nothing. So things are going on. The event has already started, and still, Daksha is such a personality that everything is put on pause when he arrives. Everything is put on pause, and everyone stands up, and even he's given a welcome by Lord Brahma. He's given a welcome by Lord Brahma. Right? So it's not that he's disrespected. But also from this, we can see that in an event, in any event, and in a class, or any event and temple, things are going on, program, and somebody very senior, like spiritual master comes, this is not the case here, but in the case of spiritual master comes, or even, practically speaking, it should be the god brother of one spiritual master. If the god brother of one spiritual master comes, you may be given the class. But still, you should publicly welcome that person, interrupt, pause, make a pause. If a very senior person, acharya, spiritual master, sannyasi. proper disciple, pretty much, because God brothers is guru. It should be acknowledged. So Lord Brahma, he spoke and he welcomed Daksha, but that didn't seem to be enough for Daksha. Please read on.
Before taking his seat, however, Daksha was very much offered to see Lord Shiva sitting and not showing him any respect. At that time, Daksha became greatly angry and his eyes glowing, he began to speak very strongly against Lord Shiva.
Yeah. So even just see that even standing up, it has such significance. We could speculate that the whole thing probably wouldn't have happened if Lord Shiva had stood up. So just see how significant it is to actually stand up. So we should do that. I mean, I've seen speakers get off the asan and pay obeisances to the guru when they're speaking in the class in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Even if you don't do that, but I heard sometimes you're not meant to get off the asan. So at least you should mention them publicly, pranam. But standing up, like we wouldn't do, we're shy and everything, but you're sitting in the class, if the senior guru, even sannyasi comes, you should stand up while they're coming in and wait till they're seated and then take your seat again. At least we don't do that in ISKCON, but actually you should do it. Mentions is standing up when a person comes in, a senior person, when if we're in a casual place, a room, of course you do that. I mean, in Western culture, what can we say? We were brought up in the Western culture, but we're supposed to, in Western culture, is to stand up for a lady. Stand up for a lady, as Western culture. There's some things in there that quite interesting. To stand up for a lady. Well, I don't know. I don't think we do that in ISKCON or Vaishnava culture, but standing up for a senior person. Standing up for a senior person. That senior person is a lady, also a Prabhupada disciple. Should stand up. Even that, you don't need to do that. Don't need to do more. Just stand up and just stand there and wait till they take a seat. We do these programs I just came from Bangladesh. I was there for Janmashtami, a month in Bangladesh. It's so official there when I see these types of programs, so formal. We had a big program out near the airport, Uttara, big thing. Minister of Defense, Bangladesh Minister of Defense, the Chief Constable of Police of Dhaka was there, the big men. And all on this, sometimes they, like the minister, the defense minister, he came for like 20 minutes, half an hour. So the program already going on. Because the defense minister, he went to a few different Janmashtami programs around Dhaka. He was Muslim. And he was going to the programs, speaking about Bangladesh government, how they're supporting the minority groups and everything. But we're all sitting. He's not a Vaishnav, no Vaishnav. And we're sitting there, or where there was Bhakti Pushtam Swami Maharaj is also there. We're sitting there, sannyasis and devotees. That man comes in, we all stood up. I mean, I didn't even know who he was. But when I saw Charu Chandra and other seniors, they all stood up. I stood up. He stood up. And that's it. Not that I'm a devotee, he's a non-devotee, he has no good. Harav abhaktasya kuto mahad gunai. Harav abhaktasya kuto mahad gunai. Where are the qualities of a non-devotee? Bhagavatam explains. Harav abhaktasya kuto mahad gunai. Where are the qualities? But still, even for preaching, we do loka bicha, we show respect to these people. Otherwise, we don't need to actually, because as we'll see, this will be explained by Lord Shiva later, that he's already in a position of full respect to it. But in this case, Lord Shiva is behaving in such a way to teach us a lesson. And similarly, standing up is such an important thing that's enough. In those events, we do that, and that's enough. People they appreciate that. Especially they all see when the foreigner stands up and welcomes the person. Wow, because people they generally assume that the foreign people don't know these etiquettes, and so when they see that have learned these things and following their cultures and etiquettes, the etiquettes of the culture that they connected to, then that's appreciated by people. So, and that was it. Lord Shiva didn't stand up, and everything happened. Daksha became very angry about this. Let's read Prabhupada's comments. Well, we'll take questions. Any questions? before we move on? I'm talking about standing up in this case. About standing up, when to stand up and not to stand up. Questions on that? Yes. Raya Ramananda Dash Hadikari.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have one question. The last the statement is given. We see that Daksha was not an ordinary man. So why I was thinking that why was he became so angry if is not given respect? Why he became so angry?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's the question. Yeah, that's it. That's what we're going to, that's what we're focusing on here. And even Vidura, he asked the same thing. You know, this is amazing, this whole chapters and chapters now of this incident. How is it possible that such a person would get so upset? So yeah, that's the question. So we'll look at this as we go. Here's some comments Prabhupada makes. Please read.
Lord Shiva, being the son-in-law of Daksha, was expected to show his father-in-law respect by standing with the others. But because Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are the principal demigods, their positions are greater than Daksha's. Daksha, however, could not tolerate this, and he took it as an insult by his son-in-law. Previously also, he was not very much satisfied with Lord Shiva, for Shiva looked very poor and was niggardly in dress.
Yeah, so these are the reasons. Yeah, the reasons. Now, there's no fault in Lord Shiva not standing up because he's more powerful. I mean, like he's Guna Avatar to begin with. He's a controller. He's a lord of the world. He's the lord of the world. He's the lord of the world. And Lord Brahma is creator of the world. So no question of them being obligated to the Prajapati Daksha, demigod, to stand up. But Prabhupada mentions that, you know, that he couldn't tolerate it. He couldn't because he'd become the son-in-law, Jamai. It's Jamai. So he's meant to be inferior. My daughter meant to be on the like a father and son relationship. So he's upset because Lord Shiva is not following that etiquette. And also that's added on to like the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. He was already dissatisfied because Lord Shiva was so renounced. The Avadut, he's very renounced. He's very renounced. He doesn't even build a house. What to speak of worrying about his appearance and different things like that. He's very transcendental. He's a very enigmatic character, and Daksha, he didn't appreciate many of these qualities of Lord Shiva. So for this reason, you could say that he got overwhelmed by these circumstances. He was already meditating, he was already not happy with Lord Shiva, and then this was the final straw. And he got completely upset about it. He lost it, as they say in colloquial. He lost it. He lost it. It's just too much for him. Lord Shiva sitting there is too much for him. Let's read Prabhupada's comments. Please read. Oh, this is read a few verses. Please read.
All sages, Brahmins, and fire god present, please hear me with attention, for I speak about the manner of gentle persons. I don't speak out of ignorance or envy. Shiva has spoiled the name and fame of the governors of the universe and has polluted the path of gentle manners. Because he is shameless, he does not know how to act.
This is Daksha. This is Daksha addressing the assembly. Read on.
He has already accepted himself as my subordinate by marrying my daughter in the presence of fire and Brahmins. He has married my daughter who is equal to Gayatri, and he has pretended to be just like an honest person. He has eyes like a monkey's, yet he has married my daughter, whose eyes are just like those of a deer cub. Nevertheless, he did not stand up to receive me, nor did he think it fit to welcome me with sweet words. He lives in filthy places like crematorium, and his companion are the ghosts and demons, naked like a madman, sometimes laughing and sometimes crying. He smears crematorium ashes all over his body. He does not bathe regularly, and he ornaments his body with the garland of skull and bones. Therefore, only in name he is Shiva or auspicious. Actually, he is the most mad and inauspicious creature. Thus, he is very dear to crazy beings in the gross mode of ignorance, and he is their leader.
So quite elaborate criticism Daksha shares with the assembly. It's quite detailed. He goes into a lot of the activities of Lord Shiva, and he ridicules him and minimizes him. Now, in his purports, let's see, Prabhupada explains how Prabhupada is going to explain Lord Shiva's behavior in this regard. How is it that these things, he's dear to the crazy fellows, and he doesn't bathe, and he doesn't have ornaments, and he's garland with the skull and the bones, and so he hangs out with the ghosts and the demons, naked like a madman, these characteristics. Prabhupada is explaining how all of these various characteristics are all supporting the conclusion that he is the most auspicious being, as his very name indicates. Let's read Prabhupada's comments. Someone like to read, please?
Generally, Lord Shiva is known as the Lord of the Bhutas, or a lower grade of living creatures. They take shelter of Lord Shiva because he is very kind to everyone and is very quickly satisfied. Therefore, he is called Ashutosha. To such men who cannot approach other demigods or Vishnu, Lord Shiva gives shelter.
Yeah. You know?
It's showing the same screen to me somehow.
Okay, it'll come in a moment.
Lord Vishnu takes charge of persons who are advanced Krishna conscious Vaishnavas, and Lord Brahma takes charge of persons who are very much attached to material activities. But Lord Shiva is so kind that he takes charge of persons who are in gross ignorance and whose behavior is lower than that of the animals. Therefore, Lord Shiva is especially called auspicious.
One time I inquired from Janani Das Brahmachari. Actually, he was worshipping Shiva Linga. Here, we have Shiva Linga in the deity room, Mayapur. And I asked him, I said, why does if Lord Shiva is the greatest of the Vaishnavas, why he doesn't wear the Vaishnav tilak? And Janani Das Prabhu said that his dress, he assumes this dress for preaching. So his style, because he's preaching and he's delivering this rejected class of the mad fellows and influenced by Tamaguna. And this is his dress that he's wearing in order to reclaim them. So he's unique. Please read Prabhupada's comments here.
Raksha was repentant that on the request of Brahma, who was his father, he had handed over his daughter to a person who, according to his calculation, was nasty. He was so angry that he did not acknowledge that the request was from his father. In other words, he accused even Brahma of being less intelligent because he had advised Daksha to hand over his beautiful daughter to such a nasty fellow. In anger, one forgets everything. And thus, Daksha, in anger, not only accused the great Lord Shiva, but criticized his own father, Lord Brahma, for his not very astute advice that Daksha hand over his daughter to Lord Shiva.
So Prabhupada says that in anger, one forgets everything. In anger. He was Amanina Manadena. Amanina Manadena. Is it not expect respect for oneself? No. Amanina. Not expect. I'm expecting, when I go, I expect people to show respect to me. I expect them to stand up. I expect them to have the seat. I expect them to welcome me with sweet words. We're expecting these things. This is something we shouldn't do. Amanina, we shouldn't expect. We shouldn't be expecting. We shouldn't expect respect and be frustrated when it's not there. Manadena. Amanina, manadena. Manadena. We should be prepared to respect all others. Manadena. Kirtaniya Sadha. The Vaishnava is exalted character. So humble that he will show respect to all living beings. Doesn't have such an ego. Doesn't expect to be respected. As the advanced Vaishnava. When Keshav Kashmiri was threatening to embarrass the Navadip Pandit Gon, he'd been all over, and the message was coming that I'm coming to Navadip. There better be someone who can answer my arguments in the public debate. Otherwise, I expect, and if no one is prepared, all the Brahmins were traumatized. What's going to happen? This Keshav Kashmiri Pandit will come. Who can stand? But we've heard that even Saraswati Devi has blessed him, that she appears on his tongue whenever he speaks. How can we argue with such a fellow? How we'll be embarrassed. That the name of Navadip will be spoiled. Chartudik hoite log Navadipe jai Navadipe porile she Biddarosh pai. Navadip was famous for learning Biddarosh. In Navadip, they came from all Chartudik hoite log Navadipe jai, from all directions. They were coming to study in Navadip. Navadipa porile she Biddarosh pai. If you study in Navadip, you get a taste for learning. So the name of Navadip was going to be spoiled by this Keshav Kashmiri Pandit who no one could defeat. And the students were explaining to Nimai, Shachinanda, Navadip Chandra, what will we do? No one can even stand before this person. And Goshundar, he explained that the tree laden with fruit, it bows down. The tree heavy with fruits, it bows down. And the trees without fruits, they stand up. The tree laden with fruit, boom, bows down. And it's a great quality, attractive. There was a question. I just kind of got carried away. Jagat Mata Mataji had a question. Daksha was expecting respect. What was your question about that, Sachi? Jagat Sachi, Jagat Mata.
Yes,
Yeah.
Prabhuji, in the case of Daksha, I think it's my way. When I see somebody better than me, I start finding fault in that person. Is that could be the case with the Daksha? Is it my understanding? Because Shiva is very qualified. Everybody know it, but Daksha is finding, in spite of being so elevated, Daksha is finding fault in him.
Yeah.
It may be the reason that because he finds that Shiva is better than him. That's why.
Yeah, he's envious. I mean, yeah, he's, so he tries to find some reason to minimize his glories. Yeah, exactly. Rukmini, Hari Shaibini Devi Dasi.
I was thinking that Lord Shiva is the greatest of all the Vaishnavas. So what should I pray to him? As I want to do the bhakti. So should I?
Yeah.
I'm afraid also that I'm exactly confused at what should I pray to Lord Shiva, because he's very easily pleased, so he can benedict anything.
It's like this, Rukmini Hari Shaivini Devi Dasi. That depends where you are, you could say. Like, for example, here in Mayapur, Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he installed the Shivlinga just behind Nimai Janmastan. There's two Shivlingas there, just behind. It's just at the place, beside the tree, just behind that kutir. So when you're in the Jog Pit in Navadip, and you take darshan of Mahaprabhu's birthplace, then Lord Shiva is there. So naturally you pray to Lord Shiva, he's there. And there's prayers there actually given by Saraswati Thakur in Bengali that you can pray to Lord Shiva. So yeah, you can pray to Lord Shiva for Krishna Bhakti. When you're in Rajapur, in Mayapur, you're not going to ignore Lord Shiva. You're not going to neglect him. You take the Jagannath, you take darshan of Lord Jagannath and Mahaprabhu and Simantini, and Lord Shiva is there. It is an ancient Shiva Linga. Is worshipped on Shivaratri. So you pray to, you go to Rajapur, Jagannath, you pray to Lord Shiva, of course. Pray to Krishna Bhakti. Pray for Krishna Bhakti. And Lord Shiva is many places in Mayapur, many places. In Gaudiya Math temples, you'll see Shivlingas. When you go visit, you pay your obeisances, you pray to Lord Shiva for Krishna Bhakti. Mahaprabhu, when he was in South India, he visited all the Lord Shiva temples as he was traveling. He never neglected. He visited the temples of the demigods and Lord Shiva. And he would do kirtan there and dance and show respect. Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. So when you have the opportunity, Rukmini Hari Shevini Devi Dasi, when you have the opportunity, then you can pray to Lord Shiva, pray to the Shivlinga, pray to his picture, and ask for Krishna Bhakti. Sure. Other questions? Other questions now? Okay, let's read a few more verses. Oh, okay, Amal Charan Dash, Adhikari.
Hare Krishna. The question is like, what's the position of Lord Shiva in our society? Is he considered a demigod or a pure devotee? How we take?
He's a pure devotee. Yeah, he's in a unique category, Shiv Tattva. You've got the Vishnu Tattva, and you've got Jiv Tattva, and you've got the Shiv Tattva. He's not a Jiva. He's not the supreme. He's not the ultimate supreme. He's the Shiv Tattva. He's a unique. He's a special, unique. That's our philosophy. Bhagavatam Siddhanta, and when you read Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it's mentioned, described, and he's present in the form of Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya is a plenary expansion of Lord Shiva in Panchatattva. Advaita Acharya, and he's worshipped as the Vaishnavanam Yuta Shambhu, the greatest Vaishnava. He's Mahadev. He's a unique category. He's not many of the demigods are jivas. Lord Brahma and the demigods are jivas. Lord Indra, they're jiva. They're jiva. They're not Bhagavan, they're jiva. So Lord Shiva is not jiva. Not Shiva. Special category, unique category. Just like it's simply explained, from milk, yogurt comes. But you put it in a bowl, milk. You put the tamarind, it turns to yogurt. The same thing. It's just the same bowl. So that's Lord Shiva has come from Lord Vishnu in that way. It's just the Yashambhudam abhitatasamupaiti karyat. Yashai Ganishishitakalam Atavalam. No, that's not the one. No, what is it? How does it start? How does it start? Kshiram, Kshiram Jata Dhori. Bikara Bishesha Yoga. Just like Kshiram Dhori. Bikara Bishesha. There's a transformation, the milk becomes yogurt. Kshiram Jata Dhori. Bikara Bishesha Yoga. Shunjayate Nihita Pritikastu Hetu. Yasambhutam Apitada Samupaitikaya. So for the purpose of an annihilation, and also for the purpose of touching the material energy, implanting, he becomes Lord Shiva. So milk produces yogurt, but you can never produce milk from yogurt comes from milk, but you can never again produce milk from yogurt. So that's the difference. So Lord Vishnu is not coming from Lord Shiva. So they're different. They're not equal. Lord Shiva is the expansion of Lord Vishnu. Just as yogurt is coming from milk, so that's the difference. So he's not a demigod, he's in the category, he's in the special category, Shiv Tattva.
Sometimes
Rukmini
what
Hari
I've heard is,
Shavini. Yes,
Thank
you've
you.
heard?
yeah, like some people in classes say that Lord Shiva is considered as demigod, and there's a quote in Bhagavad Gita that demigod worship is done by less intelligent people. So,
Yeah, so that's fine. Great. We don't, yeah, that's fine, Amal Charan. You follow that very strictly. That's wonderful. Rukmini Hari Shavini.
Prabhuji,
But,
it comes like
but I don't
he,
think that doesn't apply here where we're talking about, well, as I gave the example. So Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur installed the Shiva Linga at the Jog Pit. That's less intelligent.
Prabhuji,
So
one
that
should
example situations, he's given great respect and worship, particularly in the Holy Dham where he's residing, worshipping Gauranga Bhajan. Rukmini, Harisha. So it's not, yeah, we're not that type of what you're Alpamedasha, that's for the temporary, desiring temporary things. So yeah, we're not worshipping Lord Shiva in that way. Rukmini, Hari, Shavini, Devi Dasi.
yes. Prabhuji, I wanted to ask that one should know that what one should pray to whom, what we are praying. Like, what should we pray to Lord Gauranga? What should we pray to Gauranga Prabhu? What should we pray to Nityanand Prabhu? Like this. So actually, I wanted to ask a little bit like, is it okay to ask? I'm very far of it, but still, is it okay to ask for love of Krishna from Lord Shiva?
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. There's a
Thanks.
prayer there. I'll find it. I'll copy it and send it. I'll put it on. It's in Bengali, but it's a prayer there that Shiv Linga behind Jogpit. In a sense, I'm praying to you for worship, for bhakti to lotus feet of Gaudhari. I'll show you that. Praying a prayer to Lord Shiva. Okay. So that's why Daksha was upset. He got so upset. Let's read a few more verses. Sage Maitreya continued. Please read.
Sage Maitreya continued, thus Daksha, seeing Lord Shiva sitting as if against him, washed his hands and mouth and cursed him in the following words. The demigods are eligible to share in the oblations of sacrifice, but Lord Shiva, who is the lowest of all the demigods, should not have a share. Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, in spite of the request of all the members of the sacrificial assembly, Daksha in great anger cursed Lord Shiva and then left to his home.
Yeah. Now, can someone explain to us how the curse of Daksha upon Lord Shiva was indirectly a blessing? Rukmini Hari Shavini Devi Dasi.
Prabhuji, if you, I'm not so sure, can I try? Can I?
If you what?
Can I
Yeah,
guess?
the question, yeah, I mean, you can.
I want to try.
Well, it's up to you. Hopefully it's right. Hopefully your answer's right.
So I was thinking, Prabhuji, that Vaishnavas are only interested to hear and chant the holy names of Krishna. They just want to hear the Hari Katha, and Lord Shiva always want to do meditation. He doesn't. If I talk about, so he would not be very much interested to go in the assemblies and like this. And by doing so, he's not obliged to attend any of the other of the yagyas. So he can peacefully meditate upon the Krishna.
Yeah, pretty much. Good guess. Good guess, Rukmini Hari Shavini Devi Dasi. Good guess, yeah. I'd like to read this comment from Srila Prabhupada.
Shri Vishwanath Chakravarti comments in this connection that Lord Shiva was saved from the calamity of taking part with other demigods, who were all materialistic. Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it is not fitting for him to eat or sit with materialistic person like the demigods. Thus, the curse of Daksha was indirectly a blessing, for Shiva was not to have not have to sit or eat with other demigods who were too materialistic.
Yeah. Any question? Here's a bit of a review of the chapter, this section. Yes, Rukmini, Hari Shebini.
Prabhuji, I want to share, I want to tell one of my anartha, if you can please help me. Sometimes I also get angry when somebody says me, and it says like, if somebody is saying us something bad and we are not able to forgive that or just leave that thing. So, and if we do anger, if we angry upon that, then our bhakti goes. So Daksha did the same, and sometimes I also do. So can you please help that how to do, if you can help me that how can I perform the pure devotional services, not to get angry, how it would come. Sometimes it happens that it's okay, I can let it go, but sometimes it's like, yes.
Sometimes can manage to control it, other times it becomes out of control. Rukmini Hari Shevini Devidasi, as you mentioned yourself, that under different circumstances, in different circumstances, we react differently. I'm involved in teacher training. We do the teachers training, and occasionally I share with students how when you're teaching, you can't actually be preparing what your lessons, because to prepare lessons, it takes a long time. Teaching Shastra, teaching things like that, it takes a lot of time. You have to research, you have to prepare the resources, you have to prepare lesson plan, you have to, these things all have to be considered. It takes a long time. It takes you a few hours to prepare a 1 or 2 hour presentation. It takes you several hours. And so if people are thinking that many people, they come and take teachers training, they aspire to teach the Shastra. And so I mentioned that don't think that, okay, when you're teaching Shastra, then you can prepare the lessons before each session. You prepare, because you'll find that you won't have time. Other things in your life, other responsibilities, perhaps you have a job or have family responsibilities, and it all adds up. And so you can't prepare. And then you've got to go and give the class and you're not fully prepared. And so you don't want to get into a situation where you're in the class and you're not properly prepared or you're stressed out. Why not? Because at that time what can become compromised is your skill in teaching, particularly the interpersonal skills, the listening skills, dealing with people. It takes a lot of energy. There's such things called interpersonal skills. How to deal with people. We learn them in the classroom as a teacher. How to deal with students, how to respect students, how to encourage students, how to listen to students. And these may not be familiar with even experienced preachers in the Krishna consciousness movement, where in preaching, we may have the concept that preaching is simply knowing the philosophy and being able to speak eloquently and answer questions to people. That's preaching. Well, yeah, that's one aspect of preaching, but there's more to it in terms of developing relationships with people. You need to have relationship skills, and particularly in teaching, you need to have relationship skills. How to deal with a student in such a way that they're encouraged. What do you do when a student makes a comment? How do you respond to that? All of this requires some training. Now, why I recommend that you prepare thoroughly before you begin teaching is because that you can be fully prepared, and therefore you can work on the interpersonal skills in the class. And that's what students appreciate. But if you're in a situation where you're all stressed out, you haven't done the preparation, and maybe there are other things in your life that are going on, like you've got some crisis or some other issues which are taking your mind, which are you're thinking about, then it's that situations when your interpersonal skill, it may become compromised. And so then you become angry, you snap at a student or this and that, and it doesn't happen all the time. Usually you're on top of it, you're in control, you're prepared, you're well prepared. But it's in situations where you're not prepared, where you're stressed, where there's too much. And then there's the weak link, the weak link will break. It's there's putting stress on the weak areas. And so you said to me sometimes that I may lose control. That's because we may not be so strong. And when we're under pressure, a lot of pressure, then that weak link will break and we'll get angry. So the suggestion, Rukmini Hari Shevani, the suggestion is not to get into situations where you're stressed and weakened. Avoid those situations. Don't let them arise. You have to prepare in advance so that you can keep a cool head. And you don't get yourself in a situation where you're kind of getting overwhelmed and then you get angry at somebody. You may not be able to control that, but then it's too late to control it. Then it's already too late. You have to control it in the previous stages. You don't get into the situation where you're all stressed out and overburdened and it comes out and you're snappy, dealing with people and relationships. You don't let it happen. You see it before it comes and you back off and just take a break and get yourself together. I mean, you can cancel classes if you have to, or cancel events or whatever, or do things at a better time. Of course, sadhana is important. You have to do sadhana. Sometimes in a day, you get up, you got to travel somewhere. It's like hardly get any rounds done. Early flight, you got to be at the airport at 6. I mean, you get up at like 3, packing, fine. I do a bit of puja as well. You got to get that together, pack the deity, go, get to the airport, checking in. By the time you get to your japa mala, you're sitting in the departure lounge, all people around you. You can't really chant quality japa. You get to the destination, your japas are right off that day, pretty much. Walk around in the evening, chant a few rounds. So there are also circumstances that you don't try and take on too important responsibilities to do things because you may be in a weakened situation. If your sadhana is not strong in the morning, you're in a weakened situation. The pressure, you can break under that. So don't let yourself get into those situations where you become compromised. Don't let it happen. Prepare in advance. Avoid those situations. Make sure you're fully prepared. Keep yourself strong.
Thank you.
Anything else on the topic of today's discussion from chapters 1 and chapter 2 of 4th Canto? And Lord Shiva's and Daksha's behavior. Some other questions. Ananda Leela Devidasi raised hand.
Hare Krishna. So can we say that what we discussed till now, that Daksha behaved in this way because the reason is only enviousness, or there is more to it like hatred or some other things are also, or just the root or the seed is the envy?
Well, from my research, from what I looked at, what it says in, what Prabhupada says in a few things. So I'm reading a few things from a few notes here. We already mentioned that, he was the son-in-law. So Daksha was expecting to show that sort of social respect, from the son-in-law. He didn't get that. That upset him. And then in addition to that, the way the Lord Shiva's style, which was very unconventional, and he didn't dress, you expected the dress code, it's a dress code. And he just ignored that. And he come with his ashes and everything. He didn't like that. So those two things Prabhupada mentions particularly. And then that was mentioned in, where was that? I mentioned it. That's text 8. That's text 8 purport. Prabhupada mentions those things, why he became angry, text 8 purport. And also in text 19 purport, I'm reading, the very name Daksha suggests he was expert in all material activities, but still, because of his aversion towards such a saintly person as Lord Shiva, he was attacked by these enemies, anger, lust, and passion. So Prabhupada says there, he says aversion. So it doesn't seem to be extra points there. It seems to be these things that he mentioned, his dress, and the fact that Daksha was expecting respect because, you know, he had accepted his daughter. So that was like a standard etiquette and a social law. Sure, one would respect one's father-in-law. This is like a social law. So that was important to Daksha. He valued that social law. And the fact that Lord Shiva completely, you know, he was transcendent. It appeared that he neglected, but Lord Shiva is on a higher platform. He's absorbed in higher things, so he's not worried about these social etiquettes. But Daksha took it as a personal insult. It wasn't meant to be. It doesn't say that Lord Shiva, there's no description that, you know, seeing Daksha come, Lord Shiva was determined to get him upset. And so he sat there. Lord Shiva was completely unexpecting all of this. He was in a higher consciousness and just, you know, he's out of mercy. He was there being present in that yajna to create auspiciousness for the whole events. So it's Daksha, it's like we were describing, you know, he was on a bad day, or it was a bad day. He had these he had this internal, he already had this predisposition. He didn't like the way he dressed. And you know, this it all came out then when he came in the big assembly. I mean, as we mentioned, it's an event there where it's a high profile event, you know, everybody's there, all the big leaders. So it's like, you know, everything was magnified in that situation, and Daksha just lost it, and, you know, became, you know, it all came out in that situation. And his envy, his aversion, Prabhupada uses the words aversion, and he got influenced by anger, lust, and passion. And he also says intolerant, he couldn't tolerate it. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah, fine. Anything else on our first 20 verses of the fourth chapter? And tomorrow we'll be carrying on with the remainder of the second chapter and the third chapter and the fourth chapter, isn't it? Let's see, tomorrow. Yep, chapter 4. So quite a bit of reading. Tomorrow, before tomorrow's session, we'll be completing chapter 4. And then next week, we'll do chapters 5 to 7. So today, if you can get a chance to read complete chapter 2, read chapter 3 and chapter 4. And you'll be all primed up for the lesson tomorrow. We can conclude with this comment from Srila Prabhupada, if someone would like to read.
Actually, we can see. Okay, please, Prabhu.
Yes. Actually, we can see that lust, anger, and passion make a man crazy, even though he be as great as Daksha. The very name Daksha suggests that he was expert in all material activity, but still, because of his aversion towards such a saintly personality as Shiva, he was attacked by these three enemies: anger, lust, and passion. Lord Chaitanya therefore advised that one be very careful not to offend Vaishnavas. He compared offenses toward a Vaishnav to be a mad elephant. As a mad elephant can do anything horrible, so when a person offends a Vaishnav, he can perform any abominable action.
So that's around text 20. So we'll be carrying on tomorrow from text 20 onwards, and we'll hear the counter cursing of Nandi and Brigamuni. That's the end of the second chapter. And then chapter 3 and 4 we'll look at tomorrow. We look forward to your inspirational association. Same time tomorrow, 11:30. Shri Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna.
Thank you
Thank
so
you all
much.
very much. Hare Krishna.